Welcome to episode 8 of season 3 of the GOAT series here, folks, where we're talking about who the greatest players are in each decade. And as we went from the 2020s, right now we're in the 1950s here. That's been a long time here, folks. It's been a long time here. So, again, how we do the rules here, the GOAT series here for this specific season, we're basically looking at who made an impact in each decade here, which includes statistics. But for these last eras here, we're really not going to count statistics except for offense because it really did not do well. Statistics was not really a big thing, and it was bad statistics, folks. Really was. So we're going to count that off, but it's also one player per position to make it easier. Same thing with special teams here because it's just me, and usually I like to talk about special teams more when I have another guest on, but it's just me for today. But before I start, make sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. Last year, folks, we achieved it of most views, most subscribers. Let's keep rolling here, folks. Appreciate tuning in. And of course, yes, I'm delaying the video here. This is coming out late, but appreciate it here, folks. Appreciate everyone sticking tuned. Keeping supporting the channel here, folks. Appreciate it. But let's dive into it because that's what you're here for, folks. Quarterback. Let's get started here. Quarterback for me. Now, this guy we talked about a bit in season 1 here of the GOAT series here for greatest quarterbacks of all time. And that to me is Otto Graham, folks. Known for his precise time routes. When the guys run out, perfect dots. He knew how to throw it to guys, wide open receivers, and fit in right type spots. And give his achievements real quick. He's a 3-time champion, 3-time MVP, 4 first-team All-Pro, 2 second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time passing yard leader, 1-time passing TD leader, 2-time passer rating leader, and a 3-time completion percentage leader. That is pretty good for the completion percentage. I'm just going to tell you that. Now, of course, he was in Paul Brown's T formation system, which balanced run game a lot and to balance that attack a bit. So he had handoff to powerful backs like Jim Brown back in the day to attack the downfield really much with the receivers too. But he's always consistent throughout the game, which really stood out to me, and he limited his mistakes. That basically is how you played pretty good football back then as a quarterback because there was a lot of turnovers and interceptions, fumbles, sacks, a lot of turnovers here. So by limiting the turnovers here, you do pretty well. So Brett Favre playing in this era probably would not have gone well. But this is the era, folks, and he limited his snaps. And in that process of limited snaps in the 1950s, he led Cleveland to 10 straight title games, 7 championships in 10 seasons. Now, of course, this is before the NFL, the Super Bowl era. This is what we're counting here. And his nickname is Automatic Otto. Gotta love that nickname. Gotta love his nickname. Now, his short throws were hard and accurate. That was pretty good. So it reminds me a little bit of Drew Brees, but when he threw the deep ball, it comes out softer, lays it down, catchable for the receivers. So that really sticks out to me with Otto Graham. I have to give appreciation here. He is my quarterback here, ladies and gentlemen. For wide receiver here, this one, I like the nickname a lot. Crazy Legs. That's a pretty good nickname. And that is Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch, known for his exceptional speed because of that with Crazy Legs. He had pretty good running style, very good big playability in the NFL. And that you got to have back then. You really got to have that. And he earned his nickname, folks, from his distinctive scissoring leg strides. So every time he kicked, it was like a scissor cut. Like cutting the scissors here, folks, when running the routes and after the catches he caught. So that's pretty cool to see that. But after he excelled in those catches here, with strong hands and speed like we're talking about, he made monster catches and turned short passes, like a 5-yard pass. He catches it and turns into a 30-yard run down the field. That's what he did pretty well in, and set numerous NFL single-season records, such as the receiving yards record in 1951 with 1,495 receiving yards on 66 catches. Pretty good. That's pretty good back in the day, folks. Now, he was a part of the Los Angeles Rams with that 3-end offense, stretching defenses with different threats and precise timing routes, like we mentioned for Otto Graham. So if Otto Graham and Crazy Legs put them together, that would have been pretty good. Super Bowl or championship back then, as I'm going to say here. Pretty good team. Pretty good teamer. And to give his achievements real quick to end it for him, 1-time champion, 2 first-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time receptions leader, 1-time receiving yards leader, 1-time receiving teaser, and of course, the most factual and great statistic is 1-time scoring leader. That was a time when actually wide receivers had more points than the kickers. That's crazy, folks. That is crazy, like Crazy Legs. Now, to move on to my running back here, because for running back, it's a bit different here. As I mentioned before in the last episode, we're going to go running back and halfback. For running back, I like the nickname again, the Jet, like Benny the Jet Rodriguez from Sandlot. Pretty good nickname. This one is Joe Perry. Pretty boring name, but the nickname that helped me out a lot. He played as a powerful, speedy fullback as a running back because that's what it was, because the halfback is truly a running back in the day. But what's known for him is his vision, durability, and he played in that 49ers legendary $1 million backfield is what it was nicknamed. And he was the first player in the NFL history to rush for 1,000 yards in consecutive seasons in 1953 and 1954. And his grind showed that he could break tackles easily and had big runs. So, like many people think of Jim Brown, Joe Perry. Got to give recognition to Joe Perry for that. And through that run, he was very quick for his size. He had good sharp cuts, stiff arms like Derrick Henry back in the day, even before Derrick Henry was even born. Even his father was even born, folks. And he always balanced to go after the tackles. He tried to bounce after the contact as he hit, tries to stay on balance, and he did pretty good. And what really stands out to me about him is he was really good in the short yard situation. So 3rd and 1, 4th and 2. A lot of people do tush push today. Back then, you just need Joe Perry, and Joe Perry did it. He did it instantly, folks. So that's really what stands out to me about him. And he also held the NFL career rushing record from 1958 till 1963 until Jim Brown, the great, passed him. All right, for halfback. Now, this is definitely a normal name back in the day, but this would be a weird name today. But my halfback, you got to give it to him here, folks, is Frank Gifford. Yeah, not a good name, not a good popular name today. But back then, sure, that's a good name. Now, as a runner for him, he was more smooth. He was more patient guy, of like Wayne to Way's lane. If like you're trying to cut the line, try to see an opening. That was Frank. Frank would really do that by use his vision and to stay balanced on the field to find that, and then he would use his power to bulldoze the guys. He really did that, and he also did play as a receiver out of the backfield too. If you need him to go do some trick plays, something like that, like you see in today's NFL game, he really did that, and that's pretty astonishing to see with Frank. And he was very good in the T formation, like again with Paul Brown's offense. He did pretty good, and he's a very flexible attack guy if like you need him more of the pass game or the run game. You see that a lot with the running backs. That's more of the requirement today for them. Frank did that when nobody did that. So that's pretty crazy to see. But Frank, gotta give my appreciation here as my half back here, ladies and gentlemen. It's gotta be my half back. All right, and to get to my O line here, we're gonna go left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle here. Now, there's gonna be one name I think everyone's gonna know. Especially if you watch these GOAT Series videos, you would definitely know one of them. But let's start off with one you don't know here, folks. And I really like this name. This is a pretty good name, more of a presidential nickname. And that is Roosevelt Brown as my left tackle here. He's athletic, very quick feet, long arms, very good durability, especially in the Giants' offensive line. And that was especially when the coaches were pretty good back in the day. Vince Lombardi, Tom Landry. That's pretty good as Hall of Fame coaches. Pretty good the Giants had of coaching staff there. And he lasted more than a decade for his durability, which is pretty amazing to see that because that's when you really got hurt and you could really hurt the players way back then. So kudos to Roosevelt right there to get that done. And he was able to excel as both a passer and also be the leading tackler outside in space for the runs. Excellent footwork is what I really liked about him when reading about the articles on him. And he just smooth. He would really play well to the run game. That's really what the Vince Lombardi offense was as the offensive coordinator back in the day. And he would destroy the defensive backs and linebackers to pull them out of the gate. That's pretty amazing to see there. And an interesting fact I'd like to give about him is in 162 games in his career he played, he only missed four games. That does not happen in that era. That just doesn't happen. Now, today's era, yes, you could easily do it. But back then, that's pretty astonishing to see that. So truly an Iron Man up front is when you really needed him. He was that guy and helped the Giants win multiple division titles 6 times and the 1956 NFL championship game. Left guard, everyone should know this, especially if you've watched last episode and seasons before. That is Jim Parker, nicknamed what we and Zach have liked to say, the Milkman. Milkman, a dominant guy. Very dominant offensive line for the Baltimore Colts, which is what they were calling the day, not the Indianapolis Colts, not the Baltimore Ravens. He was a part of the Johnny Nice offense. And with that, they won multiple championships, including the 1958 and 1959 NFL titles in both of those. What stands out to me about his game, and I mentioned this before, is his quick feet, his strength, perfect hand placement of when you need to control the rusher and just not even let him through. Now, that's when you're playing the Milkman era, and so a lot of guys were a lot shorter, less weaker in the arms. Jim Parker, he had the strength, he had everything he needed, and destroyed those pass rushers and easily won in those battles. So that really stands out to me about him, especially when the leverage and mobility to be a powerful tackler, and especially when those linebackers were blitzing on him, he still slammed the door shut on them. Hall of Famer, Jim Parker, no question about it. You got to give him here. Center, this is another guy everyone should know, especially from the Philadelphia area. Chuck Bednarik is my center, who played two-way. He played on the defensive line, which I put him, I believe last episode I put him on that. Center is what he was also good for. So, nickname for him, Concrete Charlie. Why is he nicknamed Concrete Charlie? Because he literally pummeled a guy to the ground by slamming him to the ground like it's WWE. Pretty ferocious guy, but very good player. Very good player when you're playing as a linebacker and a center. Pretty good that. But known as a center because I really appreciate him, and that's why I like him a bit in this area here, is his toughness, his leverage, durability for setting the tone of that Eagles offense. And you, of course, had so many greats. Steve Van Buren, the running back for the Eagles. Chuck Bednarik helped this man. And Steve Van Buren, one of the greats for the Eagles. One of the greats. But when the snap got off, when the ball was fire off, when he would give it back to the quarterback, he would have a low pad level here. So he get into multiple stances here and go. He go this way, that way, boom, boom, boom. He had multiple stance, and he consistently controlled the middle against the bigger D lineman. If there was bigger guys, he still defeated them. So basically, if there's Aaron Donald back there, he was managed able to stop him. Now, again, this is the Milkman era, so basically picture a mini version of Aaron Donald. That's what I would say of how his competition was back in the day. But again, he relied on his strength. He was more balanced and finesse about it and playing through the contact, especially when he gets hit, keeps going through, and rarely gets pushed back. He rarely had that. So again, he really controlled that, as we mentioned before here, and really helped that run game for the Philadelphia Eagles, like I mentioned again with Steve Van Buren. But one last thing I'd like to say about him is his stamina is the biggest thing about him. When you're playing two-way positions here, now, of course, you're seeing it with Travis Hunter right now, but you're seeing that with Chuck Bednarik, one of the first two-way play guys, and that really sticks out to me a lot. So doing that for multiple seasons of the offense and defense, gotta have him. Gotta have him on my team here. So I'll put Chuck Bednarik as my center. For right guard, I got Dick Stanfel, who is technically a sharp physical right guard, is what he was really known for, because he did play a bit of the left guard position, but mostly known as a right guard, as I like to say. And what really stood out to me him is the run game, because this is really, folks, this is the era of run game for me. Really is. I mean, yes, you have the 90s, you have the early 2000s, you got the 2010s, etc., 2020s. But really, when you're looking at this, the foundation of the running backs really rising up, this is the era, folks. And I want Dick Stanfel as my right guard here because he really excelled as a dry blocker here. So if I really need to switch guys out and be flexible here, boom. He never messed up really as a protector in the pass sets. Like, he never really messed up for there. But the run game, that's what I would like about him. He'd stay low, stuck heavy hands right to the guy of the fence, and kept driving. He would drive his feet until the other guy would fall to the ground or fall over a hill at that point, folks. And he really was known, again, for finishing his blocks. And he's very durable, too, by playing through the injuries, and was also a tone setter for the offense on the right side of the ball when he played in the NFL. So that has to get appreciation for me as my right guard here, folks. And then to finish out the offensive line for me, for right tackle, I have Bob Sinclair, a towering, punishing right tackle who was 6'9", pretty big guy, pretty tall dude, and pretty good of his hands, everything you want out of like strength and measurements. He was a physically gifted guy, really was. And he used his power because of all the physical traits he had. He would generate power out of that and dominate those edge rushers in both the run game and pass game. And really, again, drove guys out. So really, when I'm looking at this offensive line I have here, they're not letting anybody pass the line. And when it's a run game and you really need like a rugby scrimmage and push, like a tush push, we get 5 yards out of that with this O line. I really like this O line here for my good series wise. And again, off the tackle runs, he still pushed guys out of the way, made room. And then to look in the pass protection for him, when he really needed to balance it out and get his strength, he forced those edge rushers to go kind of a 360 wide out kind of push over, which you see that today, folks. You see that in NFL today. So really, he was one of the guys that kind of pushed out and started that trend, and it's still going here, folks. So, and really did a nice job about it. But an interesting fact about him was he's a legendary kick blocker here. So if I need a guy to block field goals for me on special teams, I'm putting Bob Sinclair in that. And he was credited of the statistic, which again, the statistics weren't really well known back then, but based on what the NFL history and NFL has said, he blocked 19 field goals. 19. We don't see that. We saw Jalen Carter do it twice this year. We don't see that. And that's remarkable to see that. And he did 10 alone in the 1956 season. So terrible year for kickers, folks. Terrible year. And he was durable, folks, playing through many injuries, like I mentioned my other guys too. And he was a team captain for multiple years. So really an outstanding guy. He was intimidating, but when he needed to bring it, he bring it, folks. So that is my offensive line, folks. Bob Sinclair to finish that out for me. All right, that is my offense, folks. Now we're going to move to defense now. I'm going to start with edge, so we're going to go defensive tackle, then linebacker, and then we're going to hit the secondary and then finish out special teams, of course. But for edge, I really like this guy when learning more about him in my research, and that is Gino Marchetti. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I apologize if I didn't. But Gino Marchetti played edge as a relentless guy, and he was one of the pioneers, prototypes of what you would see in a modern edge rusher. Big, quick guy, disruptive on nearly every snap, and used speed. Use that mix of speed, combine that all that spur around the pot, and that's Gino Marchetti. He really did a lot. So he did a lot and uses leverage and had hand moves. Like you think of the humpback move, Reggie White. Gino would do something not like that, but he would do something similar, try and move around. And sometimes he'd just do a straight bull rush. Just kidding. He didn't do bull rush. He didn't want to do that. He did more of a Reggie White, be more technical, and try to beat those tackles, and had more success when doing that than doing a straight up bull rush right at the offensive line. And if I had that happen of when I'm looking at my offensive line, that would be pretty bad. Pretty bad. He wouldn't do much. And he earned the nickname the Enforcer for the Baltimore Colts. Hockey, we all know there's an enforcer out there. But football, when you need an enforcer, that's Gino Marchetti here, folks. I love saying that name now. Gino Marchetti, the enforcer here. I want him on that. I want him on my team here, folks. And he is. So giving it to him here, folks. All right. But for defensive tackle, I went with Leo Nomenli. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Apologize if I mispronounced that. Nickname the Lion here. You think of the Lion King, you think of Micah Parsons because he's the Lion here, folks. But Leo, back in that day, was a powerful defensive tackle who combined his size to leverage, fired off low, he would shed the blocks with his hands and that's so many times. And like him with Gino, they would chase down plays too. So really, if we need mobile guys that weren't just like 300, 400-pound guys that are just like very slow guys, these guys were very fast and kept going and going and going. The Milkmans on defense were playing very good. Gino and Leo did a pretty good job of that. So that's a pretty good job there. But he always was constant of aggressiveness by driving the guards and centers backwards, collapsing the pocket like and forcing running backs to basically turn around and hope they had to go sell some milk to the kids. That's what it was for Leo. That's what he did to his O-lineman. And he was very quick, and he really stopped a lot of great players back then. He never missed a game, which is insane in that era, like I mentioned before. And the games he appeared in was 174 games. Think about that for a second, folks. 170 games, and he doesn't get hurt. Think of today's game. There's more games and less physicality than there was back then. More physicality and less games. That's pretty astonishing right there is my statistic of factual fact. I'd like to learn about him there. Also earned 10 Pro Bowls and selected multiple All-Pro multiple times a defensive tackle here, folks. So Leo, got to get precision here to me once again. Again, Gino and Leo, put them as the Bass Pros like the Mighty Ducks. See what happens. They do pretty well. They would do pretty well for me. But I got Leo as my defensive tackle here. Now to linebacker here, I'm going to go with a guy I really liked a lot. Now, I'm not a fan of his team, but I've had him on the GOAT series before. I cannot deny him. And he was a hard hitting middle linebacker. And that's Joe Schmidt. Joe Schmidt was basically the on field quarterback for the Detroit Lions. When you think of the quarterback for the defense, usually it's a linebacker, folks. Sometimes it's a safety, but it's usually who's the Mike. And Joe, he was the quarterback for the Detroit Lions on that defense. And when he played, folks, he flew sideline to sideline, like quick, like Speed Gonzalez, ready to get tackle and bring him down quick. Would not let him escape. He really wouldn't. Very old school guy. He had the textbook technique. He would slip the blocks of trying to get through. Nobody would let this guy lose. He always won his battles every single time, which earned him multiple wins, helped the team out a lot in that success. And he was also one of the prototype middle linebackers. So, like I mentioned before, like when you need learn about the defensive line of who's prototypical guy, Joe was a typical linebacker of seeing how it gets played as a middle linebacker here. When you think of the guys in like the past couple episodes, you think of Ray Lewis, you think of, well, I'm just going to put Edgerrin Cooper out there because my Packers here. When you're thinking of these middle linebackers, Fred Warner. When you're thinking of like Fred Warner, guys, fantastic guys. But this is the typical guy you look after, how you look at the definition of a middle linebacker. Joe Schmidt should basically be on the page for that, folks. He should be in the textbook of that page. And he really influenced that position with his leadership and playmaking style. That really stands out to me a lot. So, Joe Schmidt, got to give appreciation here to you, sir. Got to give appreciation to you. All right. And then to get to my safety here, folks, this guy I really liked a lot. And I didn't know much about him before the season started. But when I did my research for this era, and I remember him of like his history about it, pretty astonishing. It really is pretty astonishing for the NFL history itself. And that's Emlyn Tuno, an instinctive ball hawk guy. He really was a dangerous guy on the defense, making the offense want to not throw to him at all. It's like you see Ed Reed on the field. That was basically the pioneer of Ed Reed, folks. Emlyn Tuno. And he really would line up deep and read the quarterback's eyes, seeing like where they're going. Are they pump faking? They're not pump faking. And as soon as the ball gets thrown, he would break that ball, especially he'd go after it and pass breakup every single time. So pretty good guy to stop the ball. And he was pretty good at turning the ball over, of getting the interception. So really, again, ball hawk and pass breakup guy. That's what you want out of your secondary guy. That's really what you want him as your safety here, folks. So really like that to him. Now, interesting fact I like to give about Emlyn is he was the first African-American and first pure defensive back inducted into the Pro Bowl Hall of Fame, folks. So again, the NFL Hall of Fame. But that's pretty astonishing. So you think of like famous African-American athletes. Jackie Robinson, of course, is the most famous one I know of. Got first into MLB Hall of Fame. Emlyn, first the NFL Hall of Fame. Pretty amazing to see that. And Emlyn played 158 straight games. So, guys, there's a lot of durability in this game. And in the case of the physicality in less games, this really shows you hurt them with anything, they will play through. They will play through anything. And his tackling technique was more of a linebacker style of aggression, especially when near the goal line. He really would go jump in and right head first. He would not mistake, and he would read it and boom, boom, boom. And he was really trusted in the red zone in critical situations in Lane's career when he did that. And he excelled when playing for the New Giants and the Green Bay Packers. He really excelled in the zone concepts. Now, if the Giants, the nickname was called the umbrella defense, in that defense, he uses vision more and his anticipation more than just a pure speed to jump the routes. So when he had it like going and you're thinking, he just go. And his speed, it might not have been like the best that you would think of like Tyreek Hill, but he still made up for it when he was thinking. So really good, smart guy here. Now, to give statistic here, which again, we all know statistics really weren't great back then, but this is what we're based off of what the NFL history tells me and the NFL really tells me, folks, and that is 79 career interceptions. Unofficial, but that's what it was said. And in that, for interception return yards, he had 1,282. So it was a lot of pick sixes, and they were both NFL records when he retired. So got to get appreciation to Emlyn Tuno. Got to get appreciation to him, and love to have him in the secondary. Love to have him, and that's something my Packers need too. But look, I appreciate here, folks. I appreciate there. All right, and now we get to CB here, and then we're going to go to kicker here for my special teams player. For CB to end it out for defense, I think this is no brainer. Dick Night Train Lane, ball hawk guy, very elite guy back in the day, an aggressive guy. I've talked about this guy multiple times on the GOAT series here. Coverage when you need a think of a guy to make a play and just intercept the ball. Really good player, and also pretty good as a good tackler here. So Ed Reed, you're thinking of, like I mentioned before, Valentuno. Another one here. Another one here. So 2 Ed Reeds here. Pretty good. And when Dick had to play difference of press man or off coverage and zone aspect, he would still be fantastic. And whenever he needed to do, and he battled those corrects into making terrible throws and try to throw the ball at him. And every time he's just inviting this pass, he's just, I dare you throw the ball at me. He would literally just say it in the middle of the game. And they throw it, and he picked it, and he go down the rest of the field. So Dick Night Train Lane, fantastic player. Just really good guy. Is one of the most feared players here, and really love that nickname too, folks. So got it. That's a great name here, folks. Really does, and couldn't have better. Gotta have him in my secondary here, folks. Gotta appreciate that. All right, and then to finish it out here for the 1950s here, folks, for my kicker here for special teams here, because I love doing it. Now, this guy, he's known for other position, but I like him for this position because this is what I really liked about him. And that is Lou Groza. Lou Groza, a powerful, accurate place kicker, which again, during that era, that means statistics weren't great, but if you had to compare who the best kicker out of that was, he was the best one. And he became a real offensive weapon for the Cleveland Browns. So basically, if you're thinking of Brandon Aubrey, is what I'm going to say as an example here for today's NFL, every time he goes on the field, he can't miss. He would nail kicks, field goals, 60 yards, anything you could throw at him, he nailed it. That's Lou Groza of what he basically could do of less than 50 yards. That's what you get out of him. But he combined his leg strength, and he really had a good distance and a very accuracy of being one of the most straight kickers. So, like, kickers today, like we mentioned this before in the GOAT series, folks, of like, he kicked straight, really straight. Some kickers kick differently and kick off the side. So, this is back in the day where kickers weren't great, and he was the best one out of all of them, once again, folks. So, that really has to get in consideration for me, folks. And he did help the Cleveland Browns win a lot of ball games, late game drives. But, folks, that is my GOAT series list. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think I was right? Do you think I was wrong? Let me know in the chat here. Also, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Would appreciate it. That's a wrap here in studio, folks. We will see you next time here on the Jimmy Halley YouTube channel as we go to 1940s GOAT series video. That's going to be a long time, folks. A long time, folks. But we'll see you next time. Have a great day, folks.